Ken Trahan along with Lenny Vangilder. It's our first NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 35 or so locations and growing throughout the greater New Orleans area and into the Florida Panhandle. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNoah.com. We jest, but it's great and it's awesome, and we thank them. And it's an interesting time for the New Orleans Pelicans. Will he or won't he? Anthony Davis, and whether or not he'll play against Utah Monday night, or for that matter, against Indiana Wednesday night prior to the All-Star break, and will he play in the All-Star game? All of these questions still to be answered, Lenny. He's day-to-day, and obviously there's significant concern. Lots of trends of thought here. With just 2 games remaining against sub-500 teams, rest him, get him back full strength, or rest him one night and get him back Wednesday, or if he says let's go, and then he has some time to rest after that. If he chooses to play in the All-Star game, maybe not as much. A lot of options here.
There are a lot of options, but the thing to remember is this. There's a game on Monday night, a game on Wednesday night. Remember, this year, for the first time, the NBA has extended the All-Star break. Pelicans don't play again until a week from Friday after this Wednesday night game. So if he takes these 2 games off, regardless of whether he plays limited minutes in the All-Star game or not, you're talking about that would be the only thing he would do basically for 2 weeks, because the next game after the All-Star break isn't until a week from Friday on the 20th. So I would tend to err to the side of caution, although we are getting to crunch time here with the barely 30 games left in the season. The Pelicans sitting 1 game back in the loss column still for that 8th and final playoff spot in the West. It's a touchy situation, certainly.
And Oklahoma City one behind them as well. 3-team race all the way, it certainly appears, to the finish line for that final playoff spot in the West. The New Orleans Saints, again, continuing their juggling act, coaching changes, departures, arrivals, and they're not finished yet, Lenny.
Well, of course, we've heard nothing from the club on any of this, but the reports on Saturday from Sports Illustrated, Joel Thomas, the Arkansas running backs coach, supposedly coming to the Saints. They have a running backs coach. Although, interestingly, he has coached tight ends previously. They need a tight ends coach, so maybe there's some shuffling happening there. We've still never heard acknowledgement from the Saints about Dennis Allen being hired. We get the news last week that Carter Sheridan is leaving the staff to go to Tulane with his former boss, so to speak. When he was the assistant wide receivers coach, Curtis Johnson was the wide receivers coach. So going over there. So that is now 4 assistants gone, 2 coming in. The season has been over for 5-6 weeks now, and we have heard not a peep from Airline Drive about any comings and goings in terms of coaching changes.
And with the Benson case, the venue changes from Texas to New Orleans, and really have no other comment. We'll just see what transpires there, right?
Right. 2 really different cases going on here, one involving the trust in Texas, and this is more about the actual lawsuit. So it's we'll see what happens. That starts on Tuesday, and of course, there'll be a lot of eyes focused on that. But look, at the end of the day, the family needs to come back together, and I think that's what the judge in Texas was really trying to push. Hey, get these people back together and let's work this out.
We'll see what transpires. It's really sticky. College basketball, LSU rebounded with a win over Alabama, one they needed, and that sets up a huge game against unbeaten and number 1 Kentucky Tuesday night at the PMAC. Lenny, I got to believe this is going to be a rabid atmosphere with a full house.
Yes, exactly. In fact, LSU's saying there's basically no more tickets for sale other than maybe a few. They've cut off advance sales at this point. If they realize, oh, wait, we might have a few tickets for sale, they might put them on sale on Tuesday. But it's going to be crazy. The only thing that I don't like about some of these, made-for-TV scheduling, so to speak, LSU has had to deal with it. Tulane has had to deal with it. These 6 o'clock tip-offs in the middle of the week, it is a challenge for people to, especially ones with families, you're trying to, get kids home from school, get home from work, do what you got to do, and then make it back out to a 6 o'clock game. It's tough out there, and I mean it's the building. Ideally, I saw the LSU put out a please excuse fill in the blank from work early so they can get to the game on time Tuesday night. But why do you need to do that? I mean, it's unfortunate that TV a lot of times will dictate these start times for these national televised games.
It was a loss for Tulane, another loss to Connecticut. Played competitive but lost. UNO a loss over the weekend as well. And so the focus really is on LSU in terms of postseason play at this point in time. College baseball, good weekend for Delgado to open as they swept through the weekend. under Joe Sherman. Good start. And Loyola's 6-2. They swept through their weekend as well under Doug Faust. So the rest of the college baseball world gets underway next weekend.
Friday night is the opening night of Division I season. LSU will be at home to UNO on the road. A lot of anticipation, especially up in Baton Rouge, but of course in Uptown as well with a new coach. Only the third time in 4 decades we're going to see a coach's first game.
In LSU, Paul Maneri making his announcement about his weekend rotation, Poche and 2 freshmen. So that tells you about what he thinks about these freshmen. They're going to be weekend pitchers in the SEC to get the season started. High school basketball and SportsNoah.com, WHNO will bring to you a really good one between the LaSalle Cavaliers and the John Curtis Patriots live on Sports NOLA on Tuesday night. Tape delayed WHNO Wednesday. First time around is one of the games of the year.
Yeah, if it's half as good as that first meeting this year, we're in for a spectacular game. Curtis won the first meeting 94-93 in overtime on 3 free throws with no time left on the clock. So if it is half as good as that, it'll be a good one. Curtis can win the district title. De La Salle can forge a tie, essentially, for the district title. Playoff seeds at stake a lot. You'll definitely want to tune in Tuesday night and Wednesday, 4:30 on WHNO.
And finally, my story's up at SportsNoah.com. Shaw is going to play up in the major sports. That was a big decision to be made. They have to make the intention known by Wednesday, and they were still up in the air, but they've made that decision. Read it at SportsNoah.com. St. Augustine will play up in all sports. Holy Cross will do the same. So you can follow all that as we continue through SportsNoah.com. And don't forget Sports Noah TV Monday night, 6 p.m. on WHNO TV 20. A lot of the things we just talked about we'll discuss in earnest, and we'll also address signing day and football recruiting, which I think will be an interesting topic for the panel.
I think it will, and there's a number of ways to go with that. One of the things that I really don't like that I've seen here in the last few days is all of these assistant coaching changes that we've seen out there. They're waiting till after signing day to announce these things, after these young men have made their intentions known. It's very, I don't want to say unfortunate for them, but I just don't like the timing of it all.
I'm with you, buddy. Lenny, as always, thanks. Have a great week.
All right, see you later this week.
That's our first NBC Bank weekend review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations, 35 locations, 36 locations, more in Florida. They're everywhere. They're First NBC Bank. They're a proud sponsor of SportsNoah.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great week, and God bless you.